The abandoned submarine continues to sink slowly but surely. A long, long journey to the bottom of the sea. Lynn and the little lady found the darkness and the salt water closing in on them, but at the very last second, something saved them. Now it looks down at them quietly. My head is filled with one giant question. What in the world is this thing? I see you managed to survive, Detective. That's probably not a joke then. Hey, you're... Excuse my appearance. I seem to have lost my body. Oh, and you there. You're the ghost who's been saving Lynn all evening, aren't you? You knew about me all along? Of course. What else would explain all those unnatural things happening? If you knew, how come you didn't do anything about it all this time? And how come you decided to save us all of a sudden? I thought you wanted to get revenge on us. I'm a very fickle ghost. I don't really know. Please, you gotta tell me. I need to know who I am. Who in the world are you? Sissel, look at you. What happened? I can't hold on to that image of myself any longer. You can't remember who you are? That's right. I came all this way tonight trying to chase down my lost memory. For quite a bit of tonight, I thought I was you, Sissel. Sissel? My name isn't Sissel. I bet you'll remember really soon. Who you are and who I am too. What? The man in front of me is not me. I'm even further away from the truth. Maybe not. Something is stirring in my mind, a memory about to emerge. Do I know this man? Now that I've shed my image of myself, I feel like I'm one step closer to the truth. We're nearly to the end of the game, so I would hope so. Might as well take a load off. They got us good. It's all over for this submarine. Its engine room is destroyed, there's a hole in the hull, and it's sinking as we speak. What are you doing here? I thought you had to deal with those people. They betrayed me. I was a fool to trust them. They already have what they wanted now. The Timsic fragment. I didn't know they had it all figured out. You mean, they figured out the source of your powers? Yeah. And meteorite's radiation has two effects on living creatures. It gives power and time. If you don't mind, we'd like to hear more. Get this X-Men adventure started. These 10 years, I've been watching that junkyard superintendent do his research. And I think I've got some of it figured out. The meteorite's radiation gives spirits special powers, like possessing and manipulating objects, and in my case, swapping objects. Exactly. Apparently there are individual differences in the powers we get, and it seems these powers change as time goes by. They do? Yeah, my powers have changed over these past 10 years. At first I could only manipulate small living creatures. Now then, how do you suppose we got these powers? It's simple. It is? How then? Tell us, Professor. In a nutshell, we died while exposed to the energy emitted by the meteorite. It's radiation. That's what it does? Dying while being exposed to the radiation? On that day 10 years ago. Come on, me. Past me, come on. Ah, Jesus. A fragment of that meteorite pierced my heart, and I died. So, of course, I received special powers. Hey, wait a minute. Is that how I got my powers too? You know, you might be right. Every time I see that, it makes me hate that blue guy even more. Aren't the Temsic remnants still right in there in that park? At the bottom of the crater? You're right. So, that must mean I must have died in the presence of the meteorite's radiation too. Brilliant! Another effect that the meteorite's radiation has on us is that it gives us time. Again, I think this time effect is centered around the theme of death, but it's not all that clear. So the fact that I can return to 4 minutes before a person's death is another effect of that meteorite. One of the characteristics of that meteorite is its ability to replay the moment of death. Replay the moment of death. This is also strange and confusing. I can't take it all in. It makes about as much sense to me as anything else, because I'm a dog. Yeah, strange and confusing, that just about sums up the object that pierced my body that day. Past me, come on. Thanks to that meteorite fragment, my very existence is a contradiction. Now we need to get Phoenix right into this. What do you mean? That day, when the fragment pierced my heart and I lost my life. However, because it remained inside of me, that fragment continued to constantly regenerate my body. In other words, my body was continuously cycling between the moments that separated my life and death. What? What? My body's vital function stopped 10 years ago. But my body's time is perpetually stopped at the moment just before death. Time just stopped, huh? So I just simply existed, not really alive and not really dead. That pretty much sums up these last 10 years for me, ever since that incident in the park. My body hasn't aged a day. My hair hasn't grown an inch. Come to think of it, that old pigeon guy mentioned something. He said he couldn't cut the guy's body with a scalpel. So I guess as soon as an incision was made, his body would be regenerated. Wow. It's like Wolverine. Before I left this country, I wanted to do one thing. I wanted to get revenge on the people who stole our lives. Our lives? As part of the deal, I made those guys promise to cooperate. Cooperate? You mean the kidnapping? It all went fine. I manipulated the Justice Minister and made him issue the execution order. But I thought he might call off the execution at the last second. So that's why he wanted his daughter kidnapped. But they kidnapped the wrong girl. Little did I know. They had their own reasons for cooperating with me. Huh? Their objective was to wipe out everybody who had to do with Temsic. Detective Jowd was one such person, so they were happy to cooperate. Everybody gets a spotlight. Inspector Caminella and that junkyard super. They were slated to be wiped out too. And as it turns out, the world's a stage and we are merely players. I was one of their targets as well. So they stole my Tempsic fragment, and here I am. But they had one more final target. You, detective. Me? If you weren't there on the park that day 10 years ago, I never would have thought of doing something as stupid as taking a hostage. Okay? It's all your fault, Lynn. Just know that. But I was just a little kid playing in the park. Yeah, I know. Huh? 10 years later and you'd become a detective, looking into Jout's case. Tonight I invited you to a quiet spot on the edge of town. It was a trap, you see. I told you who I was. You never saw my face that day 10 years ago. So of course you didn't recognize me. I took possession of you to make you shoot me. Your subconscious resisted me. Such incredible power. It was the first time I wasn't able to control somebody completely. The aim was off, and the first shot missed the mark. Always dying with his butt up. Jesus. The junkyard was equipped with security cameras. I knew you'd be wanted for murder. That was my plan, anyway. They had other ideas. They simply wanted you wiped out. But then, something threw a big monkey wrench into their scheme. I showed up. I was supposed to meet up with them after that. But then something went wrong. What happened? My body disappeared. Aha, the inspector in white was responsible for that one. My precious bargaining chip was in that body. I had to get it back, no matter what. That inspector caused me no end of trouble. But why were those people targeting me? I never even heard of the Tempsic meteorite. Because you were looking into the Jout case. They thought you would find out about Tempsic sooner or later. And that's pretty much the whole story. The only thing left to do now is wait for water pressure to crush the submarine. Oh no. There are no cores that link from here to the water surface. I have an idea. We hook up the phone line and... There are no communication cables down this deep. They meant for this submarine to be my coffin. A coffin for the dead. There is no escape. I think I kind of understand now. What you've been feeling these 10 years. You what? No one can understand my pain. This feeling, cut off from the world, all alone in a submarine. Sinking slowly toward the bottom of an endless sea. This must be how you felt all along. Oh my god, she hit the nail on the head. Hi, Camilla. Lynn. Camilla! Is it true? We're stuck here? No. with my dad. If my dad was here, I bet he'd save us. She just goes nuts. Oh, Camilla, I'm so sorry. That's funny. What is it, Sissel? There's something I don't understand. Why would they go to all the trouble of detaching the control room? What? Why didn't they just steal the tempting fragment and escape, if that's what they wanted? Why do they have to jettison your body off into the sea? That's a good question. But I guess it doesn't matter why now. We'll never find it again. We have no idea where it was launched to. Yes, we do. No, we don't. Lynn. Liar. This will tell us where Detective Jowd is. That person from the inspector in white. That's right. Detective Jowd told me to hold on to it for him. And the bullet is still in the person's body in the command room, right? And we should be able to tell exactly where it is with this. But, even if we find out where it is, how do we get there? We should be able to figure out something between the three of us with our powers. Right, Miss Lynn? Right. Oh, and wait a minute. What about a torpedo? A torpedo? In any case, it's way too early to give up. Looks like Detective Jowd is our last hope. Come on, let's get started. Alright. Well, first off, we'll go here, control panel, and operate it. That brings out a little crane. Use the crane to get up to that telephone up there. But first, why is this machine shoving grapes at me? Well, this looks like the private cabin of the top officer, doesn't it? This machine is probably for feeding him grapes while he lies in bed. Oh, it sounds heavenly. I've been thinking about this for a while now. But don't you think that country's use of technology is just a little off? This is the guy who made a deal with said country. Anyway, it looks like the arm of this machine is a bit busted. Yeah, a little bit. Not that much. Torpedo room, huh? There might be another torpedo left there. I'll go check it out. Oh, I get it. You're going to use a missile to ram the control room. Well, I don't know about ram. We don't want to blow Detective Jowd up. But something like that. Well, we'll climb up to the torpedo room too. Up is definitely safer. Okay then. I'll see you there. Are you guys ready for a long goodbye? Looks like the torpedoes can be launched manually with these switches. There are 2 tubes, so there should be one more left. I guess the first thing we have to do is load it into the tube. When it comes to missiles, you can count on me. I'll enter the coordinates of the command room into the torpedo. And I just turned on the backup power. We ought to be able to use the switches now. Okay, let's try it. Good luck! So, this is pretty simple. All you gotta do is not talk to Lynn. Might as well talk to Missile. What will happen to these two ladies? I think that's up to us, to our powers. What? This is no time to be standing around unsure of ourselves. Will you lend me your strength, Missile? Me? Of course I will. Count on it. So you switch the missile. You go ahead and switch the 2 switches. Switch off to Sissel. Not talk to Lynn. She gets in the way. That switch, Fitty. And the torpedo's good. There we go. That torpedo looks serviceable. I'll sit on this end too. But something's odd. What is? The command room, it looks like it's slowly sinking. Sinking? Yeah, like it's completely run out of power. I wonder what happened. I don't know, but I guess I'll find out. Right, okay, hop into the missile. I'll launch it for you. Okay, thanks. They could have just, you know, manually done that themselves, but whatever. An instant will be your window of opportunity to jump out of the control command room. Then we'll find a way to come back and save you. That'll probably be my last task tonight. Just hold on until we get back. So basically with this part, Missile's like, no, I don't want to go. I can't leave Camilla and Lynn behind. It basically just goes on very dramatically. It goes on much longer than it needs to go on for. Then Lynn is all like, go on, go ahead. I don't care about you, Missile. If you get killed, you're already dead, so it's fine. Plus, we'll need you later on, Missile. Sissy will need you, Missile. Like I said, longest goodbye ever. "12 seconds? Yeah, I got it. Just flip the switch. Let's exit this popsicle stand. Oh my god. These 12 seconds are lasting an eternity. I strive to think of a way to save Lynn and little lady the whole time. But how can a ray of light, of hope, reach this far down into the deep sea? Before I can think of an answer, the 12 seconds are up. Pretty sure I stuttered there for a minute in the original recording. So, yeah. Detective Jowd. But that big masked man did this. I'm going to bite him. You better not. You might break your teeth. The command room has lost power and is sinking. So I wonder what this masked man is going to do. Let's talk to Detective Jowd. I want to talk to the masked man. Oh, I can't. Sorry for the wait, Detective Jowd. Who are you? What are you doing here? You, Sissel? Please excuse my appearance. I can't believe you made it here. How's Camilla? And what about Liv? Well, it's kind of a long story. I told Detective Jowd about everything that happened on the submarine, you know. So the submarine is badly damaged? Why would he do that to his own submarine? I wish I knew. He's evil. He doesn't like submarines. I know the answer to that one. It's because he's afraid of my powers. You? How did you follow us? Followed us? I didn't even notice. It's been 10 long years, Detective Jowd. Are you Yomiel? That's right. We weren't really that guy. He was Yomiel. And we are just a spirit so far, so you remember me, do you? How could I possibly forget? So that's your real name, huh? Yomiel. That's right. But those people on the Inoa were calling you Sissel. That's just an alias I was using for my deal with them. I didn't see any need to tell them my real name. Could you do me a favor? Would you let me ask you some questions? I've been trying to find out my true identity all night. Sure, go ahead. I'm sure there's plenty we can still tell you. Right, Detective Jowd? Right. 10 years ago, you were a top systems engineer, weren't you? Systems engineer? What's that? By the way, I'm a top Pomeranian, you know. Well, it's kind of hard to explain to a dog, but it's a person who's good at using computers. I don't mean to brag, but I was one of the best in the industry. A name like Yomiel, I was soaring to the top. That's how I got roped into this whole project. Project? What project? It was a project aimed at reorganizing the nation's top-secret information. The goal was to build a new system using multi-dimensional programming theory. I was asked to join the project by an agent of the government. It doesn't sound like something a top Pomeranian would know anything about. To me, it just sounded like another challenging job. However, this project was also the target of a secret plot. I bet you can imagine the kind of crime the nation's top secrets might attract. I never thought, for the life of me, I'd ever have to deal with spies. It was never made public, but every organization in the country moved on this one. And then, one day, the name of a certain programmer emerged as a suspect. I was the guy who built the core of the system. The police arrested you, and then that instant happened. He escaped from the interrogation room and took little Lynn as a hostage. By the way, Detective Jowd, when was it that I was proven innocent? About 6 months after your death. I'm so sorry, Yomiel. I'm not really sorry, Yomiel. 10 years ago, the sky was falling. Everyone died in the end. My soul was split from my body, and I lost everything. I was sealed in eternal darkness. Oh no, not eternal darkness. An amazing video game for the GameCube. I existed in this world, no question about that. But nobody noticed my presence. What good were my powers? They didn't help anybody. Not even the passage of time could heal my pain. In fact, it only made it worse. I wanted to disappear, but I wasn't even allowed to do that. The way Lynn described it is exactly right. Sinking slowly toward the bottom of an endless sea. An overwhelming feeling of loneliness and despair. And I wanted all of you to suffer for what I was suffering. And so that's why you murdered Alma. Those are some pretty bad motives, Yomiel. I mean, Jesus Christ. That's right. I wanted you to know what it was like to lose everything you cared about. I wanted you to feel the same pain I felt. What? It was the twisted wish of a mind poisoned by infinite loneliness. And then, as I was plotting my revenge, I had an idea. I came up with a plan to use these powers of mine to make a deal. The real deal. There's something I just don't understand about that deal. I'm sure your powers would be very valuable to them. But, what would you get out of the deal? So snarky. New life. Life? I asked them for 2 conditions. Number 1 was that they helped me with my revenge plot. And the second was a rebirth for me. Rebirth. A new beginning, eh? I didn't care if it was a fake life, an artificial life. I just wanted a physical receptacle for my soul. A name, an identity, an everyday life. I wanted to grow old in a society that would accept me. And finally, I wanted to die, surrounded by a loving family. That's the kind of life I asked them for. A completely man-made life. You're crazy. Oh, that's just right. I knew I couldn't hope for anything more than that. To make it all come true, I knew it would have to take a lot of money and a lot of power. That's why I decided to ask a national government to help me. And the response, in the end, was betrayal. They were making their moves much more carefully than I suspected. They sent spies to this country and researched my powers on their own. And they even figured out what Temsic was all about. And you had no idea they were doing all this. None at all. I was a fool. So then, why did they go to all the trouble of making a deal with you? Why didn't they just steal a hunk of the Temsic meteorite from the park? They couldn't. I was probably making some snide joke. I can't remember now. Come on past me, hurry up. Huh? After the manipulator incidents, research was conducted in this country too. A report was submitted to the government about the source of the manipulator's power. Inside Caminella the whole time, by Inspector Caminella and the old pigeon guy. Hey. At first, the government didn't believe the report. But then, they decided to put the park under surveillance, just in case. Surveillance, huh? It just looks like an ordinarily peaceful park, but there are armed agents there at all times. No, not him. He couldn't be an agent. Don't tell me that odd leaflet guy is one of them. That's impossible. No, not him. He's just a plain old odd person. That park is like a silent battlefield on an international scale. So that's why they couldn't steal the Temsic meteorite, and lately, under the pretense of building a housing site. They've been working on a plan to destroy that park in order to secure the Temsic meteorite. So that's it, eh? So the upshot of your grand deal was this, eh? Yeah, it's the ending I deserve. But at least there's one thing you must be happy about. What's that? You've managed to seal me away at the bottom of the sea forever. Well, shall we get started? Started with what? Bringing Detective Jowd back to life, of course. What? What good would that do now? But we promised. We promised Miss Lynn and Miss Camilla we'd save them. and we can't do that without you, Detective Jowd. Yeah, I've been guided by fate tonight to this place. I won't give up now. Alright, fine. Let's see where it leads us. Here we go, then. Back to 4 minutes before your death. So, where are we headed? We're not headed anywhere, Detective. What? There was only enough fuel on board to launch us away, Detective. We will run out soon, and that will be our destination, Detective. What are you talking about? That would mean that you're trapped here too. He's a headless horseman. By the way, I'm not human, Detective. That's right. Big old blue guy was a robot. I'm a remote-controlled robot detective. What? Your country's use of technology is just plain off. We get that a lot, Detective. Why would you go to all the trouble to do this? That's nothing but a shell there. It's hardly a threat anymore. Commander Sith likes to provide against any possibility, no matter how small, Detective. Possibility. What are you talking about? There is no need for you to know, Detective. Why do you need a minigun on this? Now it is time to say goodbye, Detective. In the end, your fate remains the same, it seems, Detective. Camilla, forgive me! As I get turned into Swiss cheese. It isn't over yet. It isn't? Remember what the big masked man said. Any possibility, no matter how small. Possibility. In other words, there must be a chance here somewhere. The possibility of turning the situation around. So, yeah. Big blue guy was a robot the entire time. Who'd have thunk it? So this is pretty simple. Just go to Yomiel. What is it, Detective? I clicked by really fast that time, so I didn't catch what he said the first time. It was just, look at Yomiel's body. There's no aura emanating from his... whatever. The Timsic fragment is gone. Could this change in his shell? Give us some kind of lead? So you just go up to Yomiel. You're like, hey, bro. Why is so crazy? I figured it out. I know what this possibility, no matter how small, is what they're afraid of. What is it? My time was perpetually stopped, thanks to the power of Timsic. His body cycled between the moments that separate his life and death. Right, but not anymore. The Timsic fragment has been taken away. Exactly. So what does that mean? I get it. He's just a corpse now. Your body won't come back to life anymore. Yep, he became a corpse. So, let's see. That means we can go back to 4 minutes before your death. But wait a minute. Exactly when is that death? That's simple. We'll find out. It's like 10 years ago. We'll find out. When we get there, let's move. He's a very observant detective. I fell back through the cracks of time for what seemed like forever, and then I saw it. The final death at the end of this long night. Who exactly am I? I've already seen all the clues. All I have to do now is remember. just one more left. The final journey to the truth starts now.